We had a client that we worked with, and she was really struggling with profitability. She kept raising tuition. She actually did 3 tuition increases within a 15-month cycle, and she still could not catch up. So I helped her work with our 6 money leaks in schools, and she only used 3 of the 6 money leaks and cut her expenses by 50%. 50. She did not fire anyone. She did not slash any of her programs, and she did not work more hours. Again, the 6 money leaks are not hacks or spreadsheets. These are patterns. They are small decisions that feel so normal that your school does, but they quietly drain your school's profit. So if you've ever wondered why you're working so hard, but still not seeing the return, this is your first step to clarity. Click the link in the show notes and find out what it's actually costing you.
Hello there. Welcome back to the podcast. We are continuing our series. This is part 4 of the new School Playbook, 5 power plays to attract, engage, and retain families. And today we're diving into train the troops. So quick overview of what we've done so far. So our first episode that we started with this series is Know Your Families, how to really know who your families are, who you're speaking to. Second episode, we dived into how to speak their language. We spoke about how to be where they are. And today we're going to talk about how to train the troops. So let's dive into that. Let's talk a little bit about just parent communication really requires such a nuanced and tailored approach, right? And if your staff aren't equipped to speak the language of each parent avatar, you are missing out on opportunities to build strong relationships and build community. Okay. So again, we always like to go high level here. How has parent interactions shifted? More so, how have parent staff interactions evolved? So parents come with a wide variety of expectations, and their communication frequency and style have shifted. And so even if a teacher comes from a similar cultural background as a parent, because they have a different cultural expectation or norm or communication norm, they can clash with each other. So there's also time pressures. Both parents and staff are juggling multiple responsibilities, which makes every interaction really, really crucial for long-term sustainability with your parent retention. Technology integration. So staff have to be very adept at both in-person and digital communication. It's not enough for a teacher to only be stellar at in-person communication or be amazing at the app or the technology or whatever it is, and then not know how to do in-person interaction. And the thing is that this is, not a general rule across the board, but the usual is that the younger staff are very good at the texting, the apps, the communication, but they also have to learn how to have an actual eye-to-eye conversation with a human being. And they have to learn proper social cues and proximity and understand how their body stands in relation to the person that they're standing next to. So one of the stories that I talk about a lot is one of the things I did when I used to kind of go into schools a lot more and do staff training is I would do staff training about parent interaction. And when I was a teacher, it's a long time ago, I was doing a parent event in the classroom, and we had moms and dads were there, and it was like a mix of a few classes together. So there was a teacher in a different classroom we were kind of in the big social hall. So there was a teacher who was there who was talking to one of the dads, and this dad was really tall, definitely over 6 feet. I don't know exactly how tall. And this teacher was also really tall, but she was tall, and she was also like a larger frame. And when she was standing next to the parent, next to the dad, she totally didn't realize like her spatial awareness and proximity to the dad. And so when she was standing next to him, like she was kind of almost touching him. And I'm watching this interaction, and I'm literally watching the dad getting like all squirmy because he doesn't want to back up because that's like rude. Like, what? Well, I'm standing away from you now. But he was clearly uncomfortable because the teacher was so close to him. So anyways, I kind of like just went by and I told the teacher, I was like, hey, I need some help getting some forks for the buffet table. Can you come help me? So I take the teacher with me and I move her aside. And then in the kitchen, I kind of, got busy with her over there, and she was already, standing somewhere else. It wasn't my place to tell her, hey, you're standing too close to the dad. My place was more as someone who was just visually seeing what was going on over there. It's like, hey, dad's uncomfortable. This is not appropriate. Let's get you into a different room. Let's move you away from the scene. So afterwards, the mom, because I've been in the school for a while, she knows me. She came over to me because she saw the interaction also. And she's like, thanks for doing that. That was very smart. You were very, very wise in that moment. She's like, you didn't embarrass her. Like you just moved her aside. So I was just laughing. The whole, the interaction was over. Then I went to the school principal, to the director, and I mentioned to her the incident. I was like, by the way, this is something that happened. I'm letting you know, if I were you, I'd probably have a conversation with the teacher about, social proximity. So she's like, no, I know I've already had conversations with her. I'm going to connect with her again. And then later, when I used to do staff training, I would actually do role playing with teachers and show them what is the appropriate space to stand when you're talking to a mom or when you're talking to a dad? What is the appropriate place to stand when you're talking to a couple? Where do you stand in proximity when you're talking to a divorced couple who came together to parent conferences to talk about their child? I've dealt with that situation. How do you interact and talk to a same-sex couple? How do you interact and talk to this type of couple, to this type of parent, to this type of mom? There are ways to have communication with all your different types of parent avatars. And the vast majority of your staff have absolutely no idea how to have these conversations. They have no idea what is socially appropriate. They have no idea what proximity they should be standing. They have no idea of certain social norms. I'm like, no, you just don't stand so close to a dad. It's not appropriate. I don't care that all the social norms and all these other things of like, how do you actually do this here in this school? What the proximity is, what is appropriate to actually do. And understanding those things is so important to train your staff on. It's so important to train your leaders on. And it's not about like, oh, we have to be careful not to offend people. That's not what this is about. This is about understanding there are different types of families and there's certain nuances that if you get them, then the parent feels so much more connected to you. The parent feels like, wow, they really took the time to be sensitive to our needs. They took the time to train, and it's not even that the parent's saying, oh, they took the time to train, but like when you're talking to someone who you're not used to connecting with, you can come across as socially awkward or feel uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden, the parent on the other side is like, why is this person so uncomfortable around me? Like, do I smell weird? Do I look weird? Am I like, and it's like, no, that she just never had an interaction with a parent like you before. Great. Then train your people on these types of parent avatars. So the reason I'm having these conversations, because these are the uncomfortable conversations that we need to have in leadership, that we need to have when we're training our teams and our staff on how to have parent interaction. There's so many different types of families, and you need to be mindful that your teachers are coming from so many different backgrounds. And so human nature is to be biased towards your type of upbringing, to your type of culture, to your type of ethnicity, race, religion, faith, whatever. That doesn't mean that you cannot hold space and be welcoming to other cultures. And I think everyone wants to be someone that is open and accepting and non-judgmental, but we also have to remember that part of our humanity is that we are biased towards being judgmental and more accepting of people that are like us. So if we understand that and stop saying, oh, that's a bad thing. No, that's part of life. Part of life is that you're just going to probably feel more comfortable around people who look like you and think like you and whatever it is. Great. That's what you're biased towards. Now we're going to learn how to become more culturally sensitive so that we can learn to be more accepting and understanding of other cultures. As opposed to, no, I'm amazing. I'm not judgmental at all. I'm not. No. Check your biases. The vast majority of humanity is judgmental. And then we learn how to let go of our judgment. We learn how to cultivate more cultural sensitivity. We learn how to be more accepting to other people. We learn how to break down social barriers, right? Because we're kind of almost raised in this like cocoon of like, and again, not everyone is raised like that. I'm not making a generality of like, well, everyone is raised to be more comfortable around people like that. No, there are certain cultures that are raised in certain ways. And that's what it means to train the troops, right? That's what I mean by that. Just really understanding how to be there with other people. Because again, part of the parent staff interaction is that there's such increased scrutiny, right? In the age of social media, like a single mishandled interaction has like not just far reaching consequences. There's like lawsuits and takedown campaigns and social media wars. And it's like, that could have so easily been avoided if you just trained your teacher how to actually have a conversation with this type of avatar. And then the parent wouldn't be pissed. Because again, you also have to remember, like, so much of the default way of a lot of the young parents is like, oh my God, I'm offended. Oh my God, I'm uncomfortable. Oh my God, they didn't say the safe word or whatever it is, or whatever new nonsense is being, projected by society. So we have to make sure that our schools are actually creating that culture of true cultural sensitivity and inviting all the types of families that you want to have in your center. Okay. The last piece is emotional intelligence. Staff need to navigate complex emotional situations with empathy and skill. In a world where the vast majority of people are glued to their phones, they are missing the subtleties of facial, of body interactions that communicate things, right? We all know this 90% of communication is nonverbal. But if you're on your phone the whole time, then you actually don't understand what it looks like when someone feels uncomfortable. You don't understand the eye movements that a person makes when they're feeling like you're too close to me. You're missing the body interactions, the way the person moves their arms, their shoulders, their knees, how they turn around. You're missing all of those things because you're glued to your phone, right? And so many of our staff are young and they need to be trained on these social interactions, because the bottom line is when parents drop off, they are looking at you. It is an interactive experience that is human to human, right? You're physically close to the person. It's such a different interaction when you're standing next to someone. Their scent, their smell, their vibe, like all of those things, you're next to it. And so how do you deal with that? How do you navigate those things? I'll never forget, I had a conversation with an owner, 7 years ago, and I still remember this. She was saying that she had a teacher she was really struggling with because culturally that teacher came from a place that didn't really use deodorant or perfume or any of that kind of stuff. And a lot of teachers really had a hard time being around her because she didn't really smell very comfortable. It wasn't pleasant to be around her. And she was struggling in the lead up to parent conferences where she was like, oh my God, like this teacher's going to lead parent conferences. Parents are going to walk in. She's not going to smell pleasant. Like this, like, what do I do? Again, all of these things are part of training the troops, right? How to train your team. Okay. When you have avatar-based communication training, right? So many times I hear generic words of like, I need to train my staff how to talk to families. I need to train my staff how to do better parent communication. Again, platitudes. Here's what you need to train your staff on. A lot of things. One thing is avatar-based communication training. I need to train my staff on the 3 or 4 parent avatars, and I need to train them how to communicate and recognize what parent avatar they're talking to, so that you're equipping them with the tools to connect meaningfully with every different parent avatar, regardless of their own background or their own communication style. So let's break down a little bit about what this looks like. And again, this is what I teach inside of our Schools of Excellence program. I've done one-off trainings with schools as well, where they brought me in to do a actual parent avatar communication training with their staff, and do role playing and all of those things with them, which is always super fun. What's one thing that you could get started with? Number one, role playing avatar scenarios. Theory is important. Practice is crucial. Set up role playing exercises where staff members take turns playing different parent avatars. So let's say, for example, you have a parent avatar. Great. Alex is rushing in to pick up their child and she wants a quick update. Or this happened once, right? There was a parent, her name was Jamie. She came in during drop off and she pulled a teacher aside. She's like, I really need to talk to you about the school's recycling program. Like, I want to have a conversation with you about that. Okay. We have to train our teachers. Okay. How do you have conversations with someone who, like, at drop off thinks that now is the right time to have a conversation about the school's recycling program? Like, no, this is not the time to have that conversation, right? But that avatar exists. And I know you guys are all laughing out loud wherever you're listening, because all of you right now know the Jamie in your school who has this type of request of the teachers during drop off. Great. Let's train our staff how to have those conversations respectfully, so that respectfully we can tell Jamie, now's not the time, right? And Jamie doesn't feel like, oh, they just blew me off. So that's one thing to do. The next thing is craft avatar specific messages, right? Train your staff how to craft messages that's tailored to the avatar. So let's say it could be something like, let's say for someone like Jamie, right? Good morning, Jamie. Zach helped plant our new organic garden vegetable today, and he was so excited to get his hands dirty, right? So now we're communicating, right? She likes recycling, organic, eco-friendly, whatever. Great, lovely. Let's communicate to her in that kind of thing, right? As opposed to, let's say, a different parent who cares about academics and whatever it is. It's like, hey, Sophie mastered counting to 20 today. Check the app for the video, right? So different communication for different families. Okay. And these are just like some of the trainings. So many times we overcomplicate what training actually is. And it doesn't need to be so complicated. It's just getting really specific about what you actually need to do. And to wrap up here, this episode got a little bit longer. I want each of the power plays to be about under 10 minutes. So remember when you're training your troops and when they're well trained, every interaction becomes an opportunity to shine. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to engage that family, to retain that family, and for that family to actually want to go and refer other families to you, which gets more people to be attracted to your center, right? And so thank you so much for listening. I'm excited about you going and building stronger relationships with all your parent avatars. Next week, we're going to dive into the last power play, which is sync, connect, and sustain. So thanks so much for joining us.
If your accountant has ever told you to cut back on professional development or slash your teacher appreciation budget or your staff development budget just so you could stay afloat, or has told you, hey, you probably can't go invest in that program, please listen. The problem is not that you're spending too much money on your people or yourself or your investment or your support system. It's that your school has invisible money leaks that are draining your profit, leaks that no spreadsheet will ever catch or accountant. So I created the 6 money leaks of schools that show you the 6 core areas that schools lose money every single month without realizing it. If you close even one of them, your profits will start to soar without sacrificing your team. Go get it now and stop blaming the things that are actually building your school.